I'm Elijah motherfucking Nelson. Posers can eat shit.
If that statement don't make Paul Bailoff proud, then I don't know what in the living fuck would. Black Breath had already released the Razor to Oblivion demo, and then they signed with Southern Lord Records, and they had put out the Heavy Breathing full-length debut album on that label. And then 2 years later, they released their magnum opus, Sentenced to Life. So around the late 2000s and early 2010s, you had a lot of bands that loved the HM2 buzzsaw guitar tone, usually with Kurt Ballou behind the production knobs, and also had a big ol' fetish for the Entombs and Dismembers of the world. Bands like Victims, Trap Them, Black Breath, of course. Now, Black Breath had a little bit of a straight crust punk D-beat sound going on with Razor to Oblivion, and then with Escape from Death type of thing. They had a little bit of a black metal edge on Heavy Breathing, and then it was just straight Swedish death, a little bit of thrash crust punk on Sentenced to Life. And before you know it, the formula had been perfected. They did the Southern Lord Records headline tour with some little band named Power Trip who did select dates. Followed by that, they also had a one-off show with the legendary Autopsy in Seattle, which for that band was their first ever gig in Seattle. Who would have ever thought that'd be a thing? And then, of course, shortly after, there was the final tour with grind legends Nasum. And that's just 2012 alone, and not even half the gigs in 2012. That's just a few of them. These guys were road dogs. No studio magic here, people. This band is the real deal. Lots of hair flowing, head banging, circle pits swirling. This band's just raw, mean guitars and vocals just coming at you. X gonna give it to you style. And the rest is history after you've seen a live show that encompasses Black Breath.
Say like this, the newest one we did the most of anything we've done, which is definitely a nice thing to hear. You know, rather than, oh, your first EP was great or your demo was the best thing you'll ever do.
Confirmed and verified. And that's saying a lot because Black Breath officially fell under one of those bands that actually put out even better music after the demo. They weren't one of those bands that were, I like your stuff when you put out the demo. No, Sentenced to Life is the best motherfucking album. And that's not to diss on Razor to Oblivion or Heavy Breathing, which were both very solid efforts. Huh. I feel like that name came from somewhere I've heard before. Was it an album title of a legendary band? No. It was a song from the legendary Repulsion. Remember that album Horrified? The classic grind album? Totally where they got the name from. Ain't no way that it's just a coincidence.
Well, this time was definitely very much more rushed. Like he said, we'd be up until 3 or 4 in the morning, freezing our asses off in Danvers, Massachusetts, some shitty hotel, like working on lyrics and phrasing parts and just, you know. So, all the fun stuff, yes.
So hold on, wait. This album was rushed? Sure as shit fooled me, because I would have never known. I am still in love with this album. Sometimes rushed just works out. Unshockingly, these lyrics are not for everyone. They are blasphemous as fuck, and if you're of the religious type where you don't want to hear about crosses and Adam and Eve and about, blood upon that shit, it's not for you. And you know what? That is A-okay, because these lyrics are what defines metal. And for bands like your Deicides and the Black Dahlia Murders of the world, this type of lyrical premise is right up your goddamn motherfucking alley. So let me give you a little bit of story time. You know, I got into the band right around Heavy Breathing when they put it out in 2010. And I really dug that. Looked back into Razor Oblivion, and I dug that too. I was like, okay, this is a really cool band. I gotta be paying attention to these guys. And then 2 years later, fast forward, and Sense to Life comes out, and I'm like, holy motherfucking goddamn shit. This album is the one. I knew it was true love. I wanted to put a ring on this thing. And if I could, I damn sure would. Because once I heard Home of the Grave, Feast of the Damned, I was just like, Mother Abyss. Holy shit bags, man. What is going on with this band? And the flow of the album is great too, because you had that haunting melody as well. And you had the transition with Endless Corpse and Mother Abyss. And then you had the Flame be like the slower track. And then you had an epic finale with Obey. And the lyrics are great. And the playing is not anything like of the super technical type. These guys are trying to be songwriters, first and foremost. It's not about being the fastest or the most technical. These guys write hooks. They write songs that you can remember. And I've had these lyrics and I've had these riffs, these beats stuck in my head for years on end, all the way dating back to March of 2012. And I've come back to this album consecutively, so on and so forth. And the album that they put out a few years after that, Slaves Beyond Death, was kind of a big departure. The vocals were very different, and they had a little bit more of an epic in scope type of sound. It wasn't my particular forte. It was still fairly good, and I could see what they're trying to go for. It seemed like they were kind of trying to brush off the whole HM2 sound. Well, there were very small, subtle traces of it. It was the Black Breath of what we once knew that was kind of put on the back burner for a straight Swedish death metal sound. And there was even an instrumental in there. So they're going for that bit of an epic vibe. And the touring was a little bit less. I don't know what led into it with the less touring. Maybe real life stuff was coming up. I would like to know, because it seemed like they were kind of just like having a few cycles here and there for this album. And then at the end of 2016, they just stopped. Let's dial it back to 2014, May of 2014 in particular. There's a little festival called Maryland Death Fest, and they had this thing for the first time ever called the Pre-Fest to MDF. And that inaugural lineup had a brogasm of amazingness. You had Immolation as the headliners, Misery Index as direct support, Black Breath and Noisem as the openers. And I had known who Noisem was because they were the openers on the very first day, on the Thursday of the 2013 edition of MDF. Misery Index I had never seen before. Immolation I saw once with Cannibal Corpse and Napalm Death, and they were fucking phenomenal. And of course, I had never seen Black Breath at that point, so I was just absolutely ready for this lineup. And of course, when the show happened and everything was just happening, I was just all in. Like, Noisem kicked ass and Black Breath just blew my mind. And I was drunk as fuck, a lot of alcohol influence, but it didn't matter because I still remembered it, and that's ultimately what matters most. Misery Index kicked my ass. Immolation, of course, killed as well. And towards the end of the sales, when it became a little blurry for me, I do remember, however, going to the merch stands for Misery Index and Black Breath. And Black Breath, I scored a shirt. I think it was like a white one. And Misery Index, I scored their split with Lockup. And, well, that's the last thing I remember for that evening. Because, well, next morning I wake up at the hotel and my shit is missing. What I think happened was I left the shit behind in a taxi or an Uber, whatever there was in 2014. And I tried calling, like, the city taxis, like, hey, you guys recovered some stuff, and they're like, oh, we do something else. So it's like, I tried for a few guys, but I just had to let it go. It sucked, but I can live with the fond memory that Black Breath got my money, and who knows, maybe that taxi driver, like, saw that shirt and looked into them. Probably not, but, you know, just trying to be positive about the situation, and overall, still a great, fond memory of a night that I will never forget, even when it got blurry to the very near end. I survived the night and I lived to tell the tale, and now I tell this tale with you guys, the audience, for this video. Before we had the year, that was 2020. we still had some fallout from 2019. On December 20th, bassist Elijah Nelson had passed away. To this very day, I do not know the cause of death that led to this tragedy. I don't know what happened, don't know the whys. All I do know, and I hope, that Elijah Nelson rest in peace. I really hope that. When I heard this news, it caught me off guard by shock, and it definitely did a gut punch on the inside. And to this day, I wonder what would become of the band, since they had already been not active for quite a few good years now. If the boys don't reassemble ever again, I get it. I understand. They had already been off basically for the most part anyway. And if this is the end, thank you guys. You gave me many memories, some drunken, some sober. You gave me years of my life I would never take back, whether it was listening to music at the car, the one live show I had, the endless nights of debauchery that involved the music of Black Breath as an influence. I am very thankful and grateful for each and every last bit of memories you guys gave me. From the discovery of your band to wondering, when's the band gonna get back together? Well, if you do get back together, I will be waiting. But I won't hold my breath either, because life does go on. And if this is it, it's been great, guys. You gave influence. I was influenced, maybe not in a musical sense, but I was influenced to do this video. And I thank you guys for that, because this video would not be happening if you guys never existed. And I want to thank you, the viewer, the listener, for watching this video. This was a very fun project to make. I had poured a lot of heart and passion, time and hours into this. And I am very thankful for your time giving to me, yours truly, to watching this. And I'm sure if the band ever gets wind of this, they'll be thankful that you watched this as well. Thank you again. I appreciate you. I appreciate the band. I will see you all shortly. Maybe for the next documentary on a greater emphasis of, an A&E True Hollywood biography. We'll see. But once again, thank you all. Have a nice day. We'll see you again shortly.